are absolutely honoured to have Israel's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sharon Haskell, here to address us. She comes here as a brave advocate and champion for Israel. She served with courage and conviction for decades for her country, and now she's speaking for Israel on the national and international stage. Sharon, thank you. Thank you for your strength and courage. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your unwavering dedication to Israel. It is my privilege to welcome you this evening.
Thank you so much for everybody who are here tonight. I cannot explain to you how much strength it gives us to know what great friends we have here in the UK. Thank you. My Lords, Priti Patel, Shadow Foreign Secretary, Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Daniela Grodzki with us here today as well. Friends, we meet in dark times. In this great city of Manchester, which witnessed the slaughter of 2 innocent people going to their place of worship. They were murdered because they were Jews. 2 British Jews, Adrian Dolby and Melvin Kravitz, were murdered at Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in Manchester on Yom Kippur by a terrorist. On the holiest day of our calendar, in the days just before the 2nd anniversary of October 7. This was a terror attack directed at the very soul of the Jewish community. The British Jewish community is under attack, and I am here tonight to express my solidarity with the British Jews all around this country, to call out anti-Semitism that is out of control in the UK. And to mourn the lives of those who were murdered. May the memory of Adrian and Melvin be a blessing for us all. How often did we warn the government that anti-Semitism is out of control in the UK? That it would lead to a tragedy. That if tens of thousands of Muslims and left-wing activists are allowed to march in the streets chanting anti-Semitic hate, call for death, while supporting Hamas, and the police and the government does absolutely nothing to stop them, the next step was inevitable. Terrifyingly, we saw this week that those warnings came true. And I say clearly, more of the same from the British government is completely unacceptable. What is the UK government going to do about the tsunami of Jew hatred and violence on Britain's street that has exploded since the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, the 7th of October?
Nothing before Kemi gets
Is it any wonder the government representative was booed the other day in Manchester? Thank you to the Conservative Party, and thank you to your leader, Kemi Badenoch. Since October 7th, the darkest day in Israel modern history, when Hamas terrorists butchered, raped, burned, and kidnapped our people, our daughters, in the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, you have stood shoulder to shoulder with us. Let the record reflect that when Labour rushed to demand an immediate ceasefire before a single hostage has been released or rescued, the Conservatives said, not until Hamas is defeated, not until Israeli children are safe. same right to defend its people as Britain has always defended its own. When the International Criminal Court disgracefully issued arrest warrant from Prime Minister Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Gallant, as if the leader of the Middle East, only democracy could be equated with the genocidal terrorists of Hamas, conservatives said, no, we will not legitimize this grotesque moral inversion. And above all, when Labour betrayed Israel by recognizing a Palestinian state, you opposed it. That act was not diplomacy, it was appeasement, it was not a gesture of peace, it was a reward for terror. And it is to the credit of the Conservative Party that you recognize it. On behalf of Israel, I thank you. You have been steady when others faltered. You have been principled when others cowered. You have shown that the Conservative Party is not just a friend of Israel. It is a partner in the defense of democracy itself. Thank you. They choose to recognize a Palestinian state less than 2 years after Hamas carried out the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. This was not a step towards peace. It was a grotesque betrayal of truth, of justice, and of Britain's Jewish community. It was a betrayal of truth because it rewarded Hamas, the terror regime that murders civilians and still hold 48 hostages in dungeons of terror. It was a betrayal of justice because it tells the families of the murdered and the kidnapped that their suffering can be brushed aside for political convenience. And it was a betrayal of Britain's own Jews, because it echoes a dangerous message that Jewish security is negotiable, that appeasing extremism matters more than defending morality. Hamas themselves immediately thank the UK government for this decision. What clearer proof is needed when terrorists celebrate your diplomacy? You know you are taking the wrong side of history. But let us be clear. This betrayal does not change the truth. The truth is that the United Kingdom and Israel should be the closest of allies. We face the same enemies. Britain has suffered from Islamist terrorists for decades, from the 7th of July in London to the Manchester Arena attack to countless plots foiled in between. Today, 3 out of every 4 counter-terrorism investigations run by the MI5 involve extreme Islam. 75%. That is the scale of the threat you are living with. Israel faces the very same danger from Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, and their backers in Tehran. We live daily under the shadow of Islamist terror. We bury our murdered children. We defend our borders. We send our soldiers in battle, not because we seek war, but because our enemy seeks our destruction. This is why our bond matters. Our relationship is not only about trade or technology. It is about defending our democracies against a common enemy that hates everything we stand for: freedom, equality, human dignity, and the rule of law. Britain and Israel stood on the same front line, and we must stand together, because if we falter, extremism will not stop in Tel Aviv and will not stop at London. But friends, I must also speak with honesty about challenges to these islands. Britain is being changed, and not always for the better. Out of control immigration, particularly from Islamist communities hostile to your values, is reshaping your society. It is fueling anti-Semitism on your street. It is straining your social cohesion. It is importing the demonization of Jews and the hatred of the Middle East into British cities. We saw it in the marches calling for Israel's destruction. We saw it in the intimidation of Jewish students and Jewish families. And we saw it in the way some in labor rushed to appease those crowds rather than confront them. Israel knows this struggle well. We live with it daily. But we have learned a harsh truth. You cannot appease extremism. You must confront it, because once extremism believe they can dictate your politics, they will not stop until they control it. Britain, like Israel, must defend its borders, defend its values, and defend its freedom. Another important message. The ability to defend your country does not rely solely on your military equipment or your fighter jets or the technology and intelligence they have. Trust me. It relies on your men and women. It relies on people and the love for their country, culture, history, and values. You stood alone with the Commonwealth for over 2 years against the German Nazis. Why? Because you believed that destroying Hitler was the only way to survive. I served my country for 3 years as a combat soldier. I witnessed firsthand horrific sights of terrorist attack. Like many here who have served their country to protect our values and tradition from a monstrous enemy. These days, what I see at your universities, kids are taught to be ashamed of your history and traditions. Artists at music festivals publicly shame your flag and culture. I ask you this. If God forbid the UK will face danger and war, will the younger generation step up and sacrifice to defend your flag, your country, your values, your tradition? Do you teach them to love your homeland? Will you have the soldiers who are prepared to die for your country to defeat your enemy? Friends, in every generation, we draw strength from the heroes of the past. For conservatives, there is no greater figure than Winston Churchill, the greatest conservative leader and a Zionist. When Churchill became Prime Minister in 1940, at the darkest hour of Western civilization, when Hitler was about to take France and be the master of Europe, he delivered his first speech to the nation. The speech has gone down in history as Be a Man of Valor. Remarkably, he did not quote Shakespeare, Milton, or even King James' version of the Bible. Instead, he drew upon the book of Maccabees, the story of Jewish courage, defiance, and survival in the face of tyranny. He invoked these words, and excuse my accent. Arm yourself and be valiant men, and see that ye be in readiness against the morning, that ye may fight with these nations that are assembled together against us to destroy us and our sanctuary. For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities of our people and our sanctuary. Nevertheless, as the will of God is in heaven, so let him do. This is from the book of the Maccabees. Churchill understood that the Jewish struggle for survival is inseparable from the moral foundation of the West. He recognized that the values of courage, faith, and justice, so clearly expressed in the Maccabees, are the same values that underpin Judeo-Christian civilization. The sanctity of life, the rule of law, the dignity of the individual, and the duty to resist tyranny. This is what Britain was fighting for against the Nazis. And this is what we are fighting for against Hamas and the other proxies of Iran. Today, as Israel and the United Kingdom confront threats from terrorism, extremism, and those who would undermine democracy and human rights, we draw strength from that same call of courage. Just as Churchill summoned the nation to stand firm in Europe's darkest hour, so too must we stand firm for our values, for our people, and for the principle that define a free society. Let us all be men and women of valor, as Churchill urged, drawing on the timeless teaching of the Maccabees. Let us stand shoulder to shoulder, Israel and the United Kingdom, defending freedom, defending justice, and ensuring that the light of Judeo-Christian values continues to guide our nations in the face of darkness. Be proud of your flag, whether that be the Union flag, the English flag. Don't ever forget St. George is buried in Israel, and be proud of your religion. Be the party again of God, King, and country. Please never ever forget your proud heritage, and don't surrender it to any woke agenda who somehow make you apologize for all that is great about Britain. Britain never gave in. Israel will never surrender. May God save your King. May God bless England. May there be peace in Jerusalem. Thank you so much.